Good morning, everyone. How are you doing this morning? I am Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And in case you're unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science, nutrition science. I have a holistic approach to health, and preventative approach. And I am also an educator and a researcher, okay? And so I like to, and I travel a lot, okay? So wherever I travel, in the USA, out of the USA, I'm always examining access to a healthy lifestyle, healthy, active lifestyle, right? That's really important to me because if we're talking about health, right, and longevity, which is a priority to me, it's a priority to me to live a long, functional life, meaning, living a long life, but being able to function and be healthy and have, my faculties about me. It's also my goal to help those in my family, my parents, be as healthy as possible and as functional as possible as they age, okay? And so, a lot of people talk about healthcare. And to me, healthcare is more than just access to a doctor and access to a medical system. Healthcare, for me, is also access to good food, okay? Access to good air. Access to good quality cleaning products and soaps and, lotions. It is, mental health. Access to being able to be active, okay? Because, some places, like a lot of the USA and suburban USA, people don't walk anywhere. They're always driving, right? So all those things are things I look at when I look at access to a healthy, active lifestyle. Now, I've done videos in the past about the food systems in America and other countries because I constantly hear people recite this statement that all the food in the USA is bad. People say this as if it's a fact, that the food in the US is below the standards of the world. It's the worst food in the world, and everybody else has better food. I've met people from the Caribbean, people from Africa, people from South America who may try to speak as if their food quality is better than ours, right? And when I travel, I have found that not to be the case. That is actually one of the reasons why I was motivated to go to Europe, was because whenever I would go to the Caribbean, Central or South America, I felt like I was going backwards, okay, when it comes to quality of food and access to a healthy, active lifestyle. And I knew Europe to be the only place to have like food standards. And so when I went to Europe, I was really looking at that, and I did videos on that, and there's so much to say. But today I'm going to talk about Senegal, okay? I just came back from Dakar, Senegal. I was supposed to be there for 10 days, but I only made it for 5, okay? And that 5th day was my absolute, dead last drop of energy or patience I had to stay there. And I actually wanted to leave sooner, okay? Now I'm going to talk about why, okay? Because for me, again, it's important, to have good quality food. If I don't have good quality food every day, I'm very sensitive to air, which is why, where I live, I have wood floors. I have no carpet. I keep my windows open. I have lots of plants in my apartment so I can have good air quality. I can't stand to step in a room with artificial air freshener scents and carpets and closed windows. I feel sick. And one thing that I've noticed, it's like I can't breathe. And one thing I've noticed, when I've been in Central America and the Caribbean, the air quality in the cities seems worse than anything I've experienced in America. And a lot of times that's because they have no standards for fuel emissions, right? Yeah. There's no standards for fuel emissions, and the air is really toxic. I remember I used to spend a lot of time in Costa Rica, and I just remember being in San Jose, and I didn't want to inhale. Every time I inhaled, I felt like I was breathing in poisonous air, and the type of thick smoke and stuff that came from the trucks and the cars, it's nothing like that in the US, okay? So, and I think that a lot of people, there's a lot of people I see who decide to leave America and move to Africa, or they want to move to South America, Central America, and they act as if all they talk about is how much cheaper it is. And they act as if, you have access to the same healthy life. And that's not true. Ultra processed foods is a worldwide problem, right? It's not just an American problem. And ultra processed foods, that problem is worse. Okay, worse, a lot worse when you're in the Caribbean, when you're in Africa, and when you're in South America. Okay, Europe is like, one of the not including London or the UK, because London, they eat more processed food in London than any place I've been in the US. But a lot of Europe is like the one place in the world where you can actually maybe like have easy access to good quality food. Okay. So let me get into it, all right? Let me get into it. I have so much to say, all right? So first of all, and I'm not a bandwagon rider, okay? I'm going to tell the truth. I research facts, all right? Okay, so for one, upon arriving in Dakar, which is in Senegal in West Africa, it was very hard for me to breathe. I got back yesterday. I still feel like I need to clean dirt out of my nose hairs, right? And I still feel like I'm having issues breathing. And just thinking about Dakar is making me have a hard time breathing. Because the air there I've never experienced air that was so thick, okay? So thick with dirt and just dirt and dust and gasoline particles that I immediately could tell, right? And then, the Airbnb I was at, and I ended up moving to 2 different Airbnbs, right? Every single one had this artificial air freshener that's plugged in, okay? And I couldn't find it, but it was so strong. And like I told you, I could not deal with artificial scents. I have a video that I did a couple years ago called Toxic Air. Okay, you should look at it on my page, The Body Scientist. It's on my IG and my YouTube. It's called Toxic Air, and I'm talking about not just how toxic the air can be outside, but how toxic the air can be in your house. A lot of times, the air in people's homes is more toxic than the air outside. Now that's true in America. I don't know if that's true in some of these African countries, right? Where like I feel like it's probably toxic in both places, because one thing about Dakar is that the 3 Airbnbs I went to, because I had a problem at one, I went to another nightmare, I went to a third, just the worst nightmare, and then I left. They all had this very strong artificial scents. And I went to one of the restaurants I went to, same thing. I wanted to sit inside the restaurant. It was like this nice restaurant. As soon as I stepped in, it was the strongest artificial smell of like artificial air freshener. Okay, those artificial air freshener plug-in stuff like that are full of cancer-causing chemicals. Full of cancer-causing chemicals. You want to talk about getting cancer in your respiratory system, or having asthma and breathing problems, or getting cancer other places. You definitely don't want to be breathing in artificial air fresheners. Actually, I never saw any candles when I was in Senegal. It wasn't candles. It was some type of, hidden device that was emitting this artificial air freshener. Like people in the States have plug-ins. I didn't see anything plugged in, but there was something. It was coming from somewhere, okay? And it was very strong. I can taste the chemicals, right? I can taste them. So when I left Senegal, I remember, 2 nights ago, the ride to the airport, it was like 1 hour and 40 minutes, right? And I just remember, like, first of all, when it's hot, to me, when it's hot and dirty and hot and dust in the air and hot and pollution, it's like the heat makes it worse, right? Like when you're hot and dirty, the combination of the two just magnifies, okay? And when you think about it, these fuel emissions are actually contributing to global warming and making the planet hotter, right? But upon leaving, like my whole ride to the airport, I could not breathe. Okay, actually, the day that I left, today is Wednesday. I left there on Monday night. On Monday evening before I headed to the airport, I had the worst case of like heartburn or something. And I never get heartburn. I don't have acid reflux. I don't have those problems. But I remember I had such horrible pain and burning and irritation in my chest, right? And I know it was from breathing that air constantly. Okay. And then on the ride to the airport, like, I needed the window down because I need fresh air because the cars there are really old. And when I say really old, I mean old in the worst way. Because, I've been to Cuba. The cars are old, but the cars in Cuba are kept up better than they were in Dakar, right? So, I need to open the window to have fresh air, but then there's no fresh air. Because I was taking the smallest little inhales, the tiniest little inhales, because I could feel the dirt and the dust on my eyeballs, okay? I could feel it on my eyeballs. I definitely could. Every time I inhaled, I could smell it. I could taste it. It was thick, okay? And it made me feel horrible. So I started to, because I observed the obvious. Like, it was obvious to me that the air was absolutely terrible, right? And I'm from New York City, so I'm from a major city. New York City has polluted air, right? But New York City's air is nowhere near, not even comparable to the air that I was breathing when I was in the car, okay? And so I ended up looking it up because, like I told you, I like facts. I like dealing with facts. And I came across this article. And on my YouTube page, I'm going to post these links below my video on my YouTube page, okay? So definitely check out the other links so you can do your own research. Or use Google and do your research, right? But I found this article, the BBC, and it's titled, Our Children Are Gasping. Our Children Are Gasping, Senegal's Toxic Air Battle, right? And this article was written in 2019. Good morning, people. Okay, so in the photo, it has a 2-year-old that it says this 2-year-old loves the aerosol therapy room at Senegal's Albert Royer Children's Hospital, where she gets to fall asleep in her mother's lap, breathing deeply, something that is usually hard to do. Okay, in this photo, and you could find this, like I said, in this photo, you see this baby with, the aerosol therapy thing on because she can barely breathe. Okay, so I'm going to read some of this to you, okay? It says, the mask over her face pumps out medicine that soothes her asthmatic lungs, a condition worsened by air pollution. The hospital in the capital, Dakar, has a large unit dedicated to respiratory issues. Dr. Ba, who has been working there for 15 years, says the number of patients keeps growing and growing, something he thinks is linked to worsening air quality in the city, okay? And Dakar does have particularly bad levels of outdoor pollutants or tiny particles known as particulate matter, which is how pollution is measured. Okay. Now, this then it gets into how to measure, the details of measuring these particulate matter. So it says air pollution. What is particulate matter? Microscopic particles that can be inhaled into the lungs and cause serious health problems. The particles come in many tiny sizes, often from traffic fumes, and can be made up to hundreds of different chemicals. Can be made of up to 100 different chemicals. Okay. PM10, particles of 10 microns and smaller in diameter. PM2.5, particles of 2.5 microns and smaller in diameter, about 20 times smaller than a grain of sand, and small enough to get into the bloodstream, okay? Evidence is growing that PM can limit the growth of children's lungs, okay? Researchers are investigating the potential effects of these particles on conditions such as dementia. About 7 million people are estimated to die each year from exposure to fine particles that penetrate deep into the lungs and cardiovascular system. Now, it says something about dementia, okay? There's somebody that I know that lives there that's actually a friend of my dad's, and he's younger than me, okay? He's in his 30s, and, he was supposed to be helping me with coming there and helping me decide where to stay, and I gave him the dates that I was going to be there, like, probably 2 months ago, okay? I gave him the dates more than once. And then all of a sudden, he was contacting me because it was like he just forgot everything, right? He just was like, asked me when I was coming. I'm like, I told you already. It was actually written in our thread. And he told me, I have a condition. I remember he said to me, I have a condition where I just forget everything, and I just forget everything, and I don't know. And that to me sounded weird, and I thought something was wrong with him. I'm like, what do you mean you have a condition where you just forget everything? Me and him spoke several times about when I was coming. It was written in the text. All he had to do was scroll up. It was right there. And it made me not want to speak to him because I'm like, is something wrong with him? But then I'm like, my dad knows him, and, I don't know. It was weird. But now that I'm reading this, it says, researchers are investigating the potential effects of these particles on conditions such as dementia. So having dementia in your 30s is no good. And because the air is that toxic, okay? So let me go on. These particles can reach deep into the body with the danger of causing lasting damage to people's health. According to the World Health Organization, a safe level of PM10 should be 20, and a level of PM2.5 should be 10, okay? So according to the World Health Organization, a safe level of PM10 should be 20, and the level of PM2.5 should be 10, okay? Now this says in Dakar, the average levels are 146 for PM10, 7 times more than the recommended, and 30 for 2.5, okay? So again, the World Health Organization says PM10 should be 20, and PM2.5 should be 10, but in Dakar, the PM10 is 146, okay? And the PM2.5 is 30, okay? That's how toxic the air is. This is according to Senegal's Center for Air Quality Control, whose director, Aminata, I can't pronounce the name, Aminata Dekane, I don't know if I'm saying it right, says it is important to understand that most cities do not respect the recommendations. She adds that Dakar is one of the only cities in Africa to measure air quality daily. Others in the continent are likely to have far worse levels, she says. Okay? So, now, Senegal is the first African country I've gone to. And many people said to me, oh, don't let Dakar put a bad taste in your mouth. First of all, I heard great things about Dakar and Senegal. Okay? Until I came back, I found out that I have an aunt that went in the 80s, and she also couldn't stand it and kissed American soil when she came back. And I have an uncle who went there. He's been, to a few different African countries. This might have been like in the 70s, and he also didn't like it. Now, this is like a while ago. Now, this is 2022. And I have never been so miserable in my life, okay? And I'm going to keep getting into the facts, because, again, I'm going to tell you the truth. Because a lot of people, I feel like, want to see Africa through rose-colored glasses. Not just Africa, but sometimes people might go to Jamaica, or they go to the Caribbean, and they just have this thing in their mind that it's healthier to live here, that the food is better here. And all of that is not true, okay? It hasn't been true when I was in Haiti. It wasn't true when I was in Costa Rica. It's not true in Mexico. It's not true in Jamaica. And it's not true in Senegal, okay? Now, if you see what they're saying about this air quality and how Senegal is one of the few African countries that measures it daily, and that is actually far worse in a lot of other countries, and people are telling me, oh, don't let Senegal have it. But to me, in my mind, I know Africa is a continent, and I know that there are many countries, but there's also some similarities that flows through it. And let's just talk about West Africa for now, okay? Let's talk about West Central Africa. To me, it's hard for me to believe that. I was like, I wonder if other places have bad quality air like that. And in my research, I found, and you can look it up yourself, that Nigeria and Ghana have some of the worst air in the world, okay? Some of the worst air in Africa. And they might be worse than Senegal, okay? Now, I can't deal with worse than Senegal because, like I said, I've breathed in bad air before in the Caribbean and stuff like that, Central America, but never like what I experienced when I was in Dakar. And then I started to research last night. I like facts, and Nigeria and Ghana could be worse, okay? They also have really, really toxic air. So I see Americans, not just Americans. When I was in Dakar, I saw people there from all over the world that had moved there. You have Europeans that have moved there, definitely a lot of Americans that have moved there, and raising their kids there. And I'm thinking to myself, do you people research these things before you move your children there? You're moving your children. Like in the 80s, people who grew up in the 80s, it's like, and probably before that, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so people who grew up in the 80s could tell you, like, back then, people who smoke cigarettes, they smoke cigarettes around the kids. They'd have the kids in the car with the windows rolled up, smoking cigarettes. And so many kids had asthma back then, and a lot of the respiratory issues, we know now, was from people smoking cigarettes all up in kids' faces. And that's a very taboo thing now in the USA, to be smoking cigarettes all in front of a kid's, face. But to move your child to a country with air this bad, okay, the damage that you are doing to your developing child, that air is already bad for adults, okay? It's bad for adults. But to put a baby or a child in that air is crazy. Okay? And I think that it's something that you can't ignore, right? Like in New York City, I know that the air is toxic, because every city is the case, right? But I can't feel it when I breathe the air here. It feels fine. But in Senegal, it was like disgusting, okay? Like I had to scrub myself so hard when I got back. I could feel it on my skin, in my eyes, in my nose, and when I think about it, I get choked up again. Okay? I feel like I need to detox. I feel like I need to put clay on my skin today and pull out some more stuff and do a vaginal steam. I feel like I have to cleanse my inside out from that dirty air, okay? Okay, so back to the article, right? It says others on the continent are likely to have far worse levels, and we already heard how bad it was in Senegal. So it says Africa's dirty fuel. There are two main reasons why air quality in Dakar can get particularly bad. Natural pollution. Every year during the dry season, an unpleasant wind known as the harmattan blows in dust from the Sahara, okay? Pollution from industry and cars. With a growing population, the number of cars and buses on the road keep increasing in Dakar. And while there are more cars in London or Tokyo, those in Dakar cause more damage to the environment, as many of them are old or secondhand, meaning they pollute more. Okay? Okay, you heard that? Now, I didn't have to read this article to know how bad the air is, but I'm just like, how people walking around like this shit is normal and okay? Like, how can you breathe? And you're moving here? I would never tell someone, I would never leave America and move there and have to breathe that air. I mean, there's other things I'm going to get into when it comes to access to a healthy lifestyle, okay? Besides the air. We're just starting with the air. Okay. Now, here's a quote from this doctor. It says, "It's true that we have a problem with car pollution, but here people also burn their rubbish outside in the open." All right. I heard that Haiti too. I heard that in Haiti, a Haitian friend of mine, I went to Haiti in 2010. I don't remember. I remember there being definite issues with food and stuff like that, but I don't remember the air being as bad as it felt like in Senegal. But one of my Haitian friends was telling me that no, in Haiti they burn all kinds of rubber and stuff, and it makes the air really bad. So, now it says, more significantly, fuel imported to Africa, okay, listen to this. Fuel imported to Africa contains much higher levels of sulfur than that used in Europe or the United States. As an investigation in 2016 by Swiss campaign group Public Eye revealed, okay, this means cars using dirty fuel emit more toxic gas, considered a major pollutant. Today, the diesel standards in Senegal are still at 5,000 parts per million as compared to Europe at 10 parts per million. Okay, do you hear this? Today, the diesel standards in Senegal are still at 5,000 parts per million as compared to Europe at 10 parts per million. Jane Akomu, a spokeswoman for the UN Environment's Air Quality and Mobility, told the BBC, okay? Anyone who walks around the car or drives with their windows open is more often than not submerged by clouds of thick black smoke coming from surrounding exhaust pipes. All right? So you see, I'm not exaggerating. People might be like, oh, you're talking so bad about Africa. No. Quote, the good news is that in December 2018, technical experts from the region met in Abidjan in Ivory Coast and agreed to harmonize low sulfur fuel standards in a number of West African countries, Mr. Akamu said. This still needs to be approved by heads of state, but experts hope that by the end of the year, fuel imports to the region, including to Senegal, will have lower sulfur levels. Now, I don't even believe this, because what I do know about Africa and West Africa is that it's very corrupt, okay? Now, every country has its pros and cons. Every country has some level of corruption, but it's particularly bad in Africa, okay? And I don't believe that they're really, going to change it. And I think this article might have been for like 3 years ago. And I just came there. And I can tell you that the fuel standards are still horrible. Okay. Now this says, quote, we've done studies on the impact of pollution on children's health. And we concluded there's a very significant correlation between the level of small particles and the number of patients having asthma attacks, he says. But he believes more rules need to be brought in to regulate vehicles, and says it is also about changing attitudes. Quote, pollution is a problem that affects everyone, so the response must be global. But people should also be more responsible and pollute less, he says. It's true that we have a problem with car pollution, but here people also burn their rubbish outside in the open, for example. I already said that. The World Health Organization estimates that around 7 million people die every year from exposure to fine particles that penetrate deep into the lungs and cardiovascular system, causing diseases including stroke, heart disease, and lung cancer. Children are particularly affected because they breathe more air than adults in proportion to their size, and their organs are not fully developed. Okay? The average age of patients at Albert Royer Hospital is 5. The average age of patients, okay? That means the average age of patients, that's a lot of kids coming to the hospital. If the average age of patients is 5, okay? One of those who has been diagnosed with pneumonia, a lung infection, is a 20-year-old boy, okay? Pneumonia and a lung infection at 20 months. His mother, who prefers to remain anonymous, watches over her fragile child, whispering, quote, my message to other parents is that they should be vigilant and keep an eye on their children's health. Dr. Ba agrees that treatment is key. Quote, we know that many young children have asthma infections, allergies. If we don't treat them early, their pulmonary capacity can be reduced by 10%. Now, treatment is no prevention, okay? When you're breathing in toxic air every day, how are you treating that? When all you're going to do is go back outside and keep breathing it. Like, I removed myself from the situation because I was sick, and I was just there for a few days, and I was sick. So, but I was able to leave and get on a plane and come back to the U.S. and breathe better air. So if you live in Senegal and your child is sick because of breathing in this horrible toxic air, how can you say treatment is key? That's a lie. You can do all the treatment in the world. If you are living and surrounded by toxic fuel and polluted air on that level, there's no treatment that's going to help that. Okay, so that doesn't even make any sense. All right, so that's point one when it comes to access to a healthy lifestyle in Senegal. And again, what I just read is not just Senegal. It's a lot of West African countries that have this super toxic air. Now, it's criminal. Okay, because of course we can get into the politics of it and say it's done by design. They're trying to poison Africans. It's also true in India. Okay. If you look at the most toxic cities in the world with the worst air, it's a bunch of Indian countries. But also, West African countries aren't measuring it and putting that out there. Senegal is, okay? But Nigeria and Ghana also have terrible air, okay? And like I said, look it up. Now, the other thing is the healthcare system. Like I said, okay, actually, before I get into that, I'm just going to say, when I measure access to a healthy, active lifestyle, I'm talking about the air, the food, the access to good quality soaps and things to put on your skin, okay? Because some places, all you can find is lotion. When I travel in a lot of the world, it's not easy for me to find, like today, I have a moisturizer that has cocoa butter, has a little shea butter, has ghee, palm oil, castor oil, and lanolin. In America, like I'm in New York right now, I could go to Harlem on 125th Street. There's 100 people selling shea butter. I could go to little small stores. They're selling shea butter. Could buy it from Whole Foods, even though I wouldn't because it's way too expensive. But shea butter and raw cocoa butter, they sell on the streets in New York. I can go to the supermarket and get some palm oil and ghee. Okay, I can find castor oil and lanolin. But a lot of countries, you can't just be like, oh, let me just go buy some castor oil. You're definitely not doing that in Senegal. Okay, you're definitely not going to say, oh, let me just buy some ghee. Even shea butter. I mean, shea butter comes from Africa, but I didn't see it being sold anywhere. To me, it's easier to find it here than it is there. And people aren't using that. Like, none of my African friends use shea butter. They just use regular lotion. Okay? All right. So, now, when it comes to the food, okay, because, I love to talk about food. And when I was in my graduate program, I took a class called, I think it was like Global Food Ecology or something like that. And the class was about global food systems, all right? And so this is like back in 2003, 2004 when I started learning this, almost 20 years ago. And so so I learned a lot. So I'm very much aware of the fact that ultra processed foods, like the quality of foods is a lot worse in a lot of other countries than it is in the U.S. But I constantly hear this statement of how bad the food is in the U.S. But in the U.S., I can find raw milk. I get raw milk from the farm. I've gotten it. I get it in Chicago. I get it in New York. I get it in Philly. You could drive through the hood in Philly. You could find raw milk because of the Amish. I've gotten it in Fort Lauderdale. I've gotten it in Atlanta from the farmer's market. You can get it in Cali at the supermarket. I've gotten it in Ohio. Okay? It's hard to find raw milk in Texas and Louisiana. But you can find raw milk in a lot of America. And if not raw milk, you can find maybe unhomogenized grass-fed milk. Or at the very least, the processed crappy milk that people buy in the supermarket in America, at least it's refrigerated, right? It's not good, but at least it's refrigerated. But in these other countries, okay, I've seen this in Mexico. I've seen this in Colombia. Definitely saw this in Senegal. The milk is not even refrigerated, okay? The milk is on a shelf, okay? In a non-refrigerated section a non-refrigerated section of the supermarket, and just on a regular aisle, okay? So that means your milk is beyond processed, okay? Milk that doesn't need to go and that doesn't need to be refrigerated is what they call ultra processed. Ultra processed milk. It is a lot more processed than the milk in America, because we don't sell our milk on a shelf. It still has to be refrigerated, right? Another thing, I remember seeing this when I was in Costa Rica, because I used to spend a lot of time in Costa Rica. The first time I went there was 2010, and then the first time I went there was 2006. Then I went to Costa Rica a lot from 2010 to 2013. I was going back and forth there a lot, teaching workshops, right? And I learned a lot about the food, not just from me. This sun is bothering me. I learned a lot about the food, not just from me trying to buy stuff from the store, but also people in Costa Rica told me, Like I remember them telling me that they didn't have any non-GMO pineapple in Costa Rica. All the pineapple in Costa Rica is GMO. Okay? I remember, a lot of these countries have these American fast food chains, which surprised me. But I remember thinking they have all this. They had like probably TGI Fridays and all this crap. But I'm like, that you have everything, but you don't have Haagen-Dazs, because I like ice cream. I like dairy. Like I can't go too long without some type of cheese, some type of milk, some type of cream, some type of ice cream, yogurt. Like I need dairy. Milk does my body good, right? But of course I like good quality dairy. And even in the U.S., a lot of the ice cream is crap. I've done videos about that. Even in the U.S., most of the ice cream has additives in it. But you can find ice cream in the U.S. that is made from better ingredients, okay? And even with the regular commercial brands of ice cream in the U.S., at the very least, the one thing that you can find in every state is Haagen-Dazs. And Haagen-Dazs ice cream is the best ice cream of the commercial ice creams. I would never eat Talenti. I would never eat Ben & Jerry's. I would never eat Breyers or Edie's. All of that is crap. It tastes like crap to me, too, because I know good quality ice cream. They say real recognizes real. When I'm eating chemically laced food and highly processed food with bad additives, I can taste it and I feel it. But I'm an ice cream connoisseur, so I can taste it from the first bite, okay? So the U.S. has bad ice cream too, but there are better options that you can find, okay? And with Haagen-Dazs, I remember when I was in London, because every single country I go to, every city I go to, okay, every city I go to in the U.S., but internationally or nationally, I go into every supermarket I pass to see what kind of things they have in the store. Because I'm looking at access to a healthy, active lifestyle, right? And what was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought about the milk. But anyhow, my point is I always look at the foods. Oh yeah. And so in Costa Rica, they had this one brand of ice cream called Tres Arboles, right? Three trees. Tres Arboles. And it was just horrible ice cream that was chemically laced. And so every time I was in Costa Rica, people would be like, "You're so lucky you're in Costa Rica." I was always happy to come back to America because I'm like, now I can eat some ice cream. Okay? And there's other issues with the food in Costa Rica. Like I said, all the pineapple is GMO. On the Caribbean coast, I've been on both sides of the country, the middle of the country. I've been all over Costa Rica. And when I remember being on the Caribbean side of the country, where the food is the best, they would tell us, like, people told me, the cooks there go to the supermarket and they buy bags of MSG, okay? They buy MSG by the bags. And they dump that in the food. Now, I've never known any Americans that go to the store to buy MSG to cook with. Nobody does that. Now, there's MSG in a lot of the foods that Americans eat because of the trickery of the food industry. So a lot of people are eating it and not aware of it. But nobody goes to the store and says, I'm going to buy a bag of MSG to cook with. First of all, MSG is a neurotoxin, okay? If you don't want brain cancer, if you don't want Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, and other brain issues, don't consume MSG. Okay, like we're not going to the store buying bags of MSG. And powdered milk, I've done many videos on milk because raw grass-fed milk from a healthy cow is a superfood, or whatever other animal you eat it from. I prefer cow's milk, but people consume sheep's milk and goat's milk. People that consume camel's milk in the world, okay? Many cultures, most cultures in the world drink some type of animal's milk, right? But I consume raw grass-fed milk at the very least. At the very worst, I'll get some unhomogenized, lightly pasteurized grass-fed milk. But powdered milk, okay, which they consume rampantly in Africa, in the Caribbean, and stuff like that. Powdered milk is very bad for you, okay? People talk about cholesterol is bad for you. No, cholesterol, like regular cholesterol that's coming from animal foods, is not bad for you at all. You need a lot of it. You need it for the health of your lungs, for the health of your heart, for the health of your immune system, for your skin, to make vitamin D, okay? So we actually need to eat a lot of cholesterol. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol, not at least how we get told. People get told about HDL and LDL, and everybody thinks LDL is bad. That's absolutely not true. I won't get into a lecture about that because that's a whole nother video. I will get into that on my OnlyFans page, where I'm going to talk about this more in depth, because I can talk about all this stuff for hours, and these are free videos, and I only have so much time in the day. You also are free to, do your own research. But I've been researching for 20 years, All I do is research. So what I do is educate people who want to be educated. I'm going to put the facts out there and do my best to educate, put the education out there for those who want it, okay? I do this because I care. And because this is what I study, and because it's crazy to me how many incorrect statements I hear about, health and access to health in America as opposed to the rest of the world, okay? So I'm going to tell you that powdered milk has oxidized cholesterol, okay? And this is why, you don't want to consume low-fat milk and non-fat milk, because when you buy low-fat milk and non-fat milk from the supermarket, they use powdered milk to make that. When you consume protein powders, powdered milk. When you consume some type of Nesquik, hot chocolate mix, powdered milk, among other chemicals, right? Powdered milk has oxidized cholesterol. And without getting too much into the science, oxidized cholesterol is bad cholesterol. That is truly the bad cholesterol, not the LDL. It's oxidized cholesterol. And oxidized cholesterol causes all kinds of inflammation and damage in your arteries, in your body. And powdered milk is a huge source of oxidized cholesterol because of how they process the milk and make it into a powder. Okay? So when I was in Senegal, and to me, I am miserable when I cannot get good food. And I feel like when I leave the U.S., unless I'm going to parts of Europe, when I leave the U.S., I have to accept the fact that I'm going to be eating lower quality food. Okay, so it's not the other way around. The way people say that, oh, in the U.S., I come to the U.S. and I can't eat hate energy, and I can't eat and I feel sick. I feel sick. I'm still trying to get my body back in balance from being in Senegal, okay? I had to do a castor oil pack last night. I mean, a lot to try to get my body back on kilter. It feels, from the food I was eating and the air I was breathing, it was horrible, okay? The way my microbiome is set up, we all have a microbiome in our gut, and it affects what we can digest and eat and deal with, okay? The way my microbiome is set up, I can't eat all that crap. I just can't, okay? I couldn't think. I'm like, I have to leave, I have schoolwork to do. I have a business to run. I can't be someplace where I can't eat good food and I can't breathe, okay? Okay, so another thing that I did notice, so I was saying the Haagen-Dazs ice cream in London was actually processed, okay? The Haagen-Dazs in America doesn't use the same ingredients as the Haagen-Dazs in London. And I will post a picture of it on my Instagram page. So if you're on my YouTube, be sure to follow me on Instagram, because that's where I will be posting photos of certain things that I come across. But the ice cream that was in Dakar was the same ice cream that is in London, the Haagen-Dazs. And it's not the same thing as what's in America. The flavors are different, but also the ingredients are different. They use better ingredients in the Haagen-Dazs in the U.S., okay? Now, margarine consumption is huge, okay? Margarine consumption is huge in Dakar, like it is in a lot of the developing world, okay? People in America eat margarine, but I think a lot of people are also aware for some years that margarine is bad for you now, and that we should be consuming butter, which people have been consuming since the beginning of time. Okay, butter is very good for you. Margarine, trans fats is absolute poison. There's nothing healthy about margarine. If you want to die an early death, okay, and be sickly, then consume margarine. Now, I know when I was in Colombia, like I remember being in Cartagena and there was no butter. I would see people cooking street food, you know what I'm saying? Or even in restaurants, they were using margarine. I can taste it and I feel it. I feel sick. Because I like to eat a lot of butter. And butter makes me feel great. Because, butter is good for your brain. It's good for your immune system function. Butter is actually good for your heart. And your gut, and I can feel it when I eat butter. Like I feel like great. But margarine is a different story. And I remember when I was in Colombia, I would tell people mantequilla, no margarina, okay? And even when I said that, they still will always have margarine. It's like a lot of people can't tell the difference between butter and margarine. And when I would go into the supermarkets in Colombia, they would have margarine in these boxes that on the picture of the box, they had a picture of a farm, picture of a cow and grass to make it seem like this is butter. It didn't know. We should be consuming butter from a cow that's outside in the sun eating grass, but we should not be consuming margarine. And the marketing with that, is trickery, right? So margarine consumption is way too high in these countries, and definitely in Senegal, okay? Just now, before I was in Senegal, I was in Ecuador, and I saw that on the coast, where one of the towns that was highly full of Afro-Ecuadorians, that town was known for producing margarine, okay? So it's not just the U.S. the U.S. is shipping in our bad foods. No, these countries are also producing their own toxic foods, and nobody in these countries are aware of it. When I talk to people in Dakar or other places about the food quality and how I can't do this, they don't even understand what I'm talking about. There's a dude who I met when I was in Dakar, who, when I was complaining, he said, I'll take you to the American store. And now, because of the research and things I know, I knew that there probably is no good food in this country. Before I went to Senegal, I was researching it. I'm like, can I find raw milk there? I know most of the world you can't find raw milk. You can find it in America. I got it in Costa Rica because I was living on a farm. Like, one of the times. I was in Costa Rica many times. But one of the times I was living on a farm in Costa Rica, I was able to get raw milk. Other than that, you cannot get raw milk. Someone says, disclosure, this is my opinion. This is your opinion. Others have their research and have the complete opposite opinion. No, that's not true. I'm speaking facts, okay? Every single thing I'm saying is facts. This is my area of expertise, and I've been doing this research for like 20 years. All I do is research, okay? So you can miss me with that nonsense. All right, next. And most people don't research. Most people speak on things. People speak on things all the time that they have not researched. They don't know the facts, right? This is the reason why being in school, like first of all, I read all the time. If anybody comes to my house, all you see is books. And my books are not about bullshit. My books are all research, either anthropology, history, or health science. I read studies, okay? I have the scientific background to actually read and interpret studies. I've taken microbiology, molecular biology, biochemistry, organic chemistry. I've taken physiology, exercise physiology, nutritional biochemistry, okay? So I have the scientific background to even be able to evaluate research. Most people who are talking to me, they don't have that background, okay? They don't read research, and they don't even really read books like that. So anybody can miss me with that. I speak on what I know, and anybody can go look up what I'm saying. Okay, on to the next thing. So he took me to there's this thing in Dakar called the American store, right? And of course I'm trying to be polite, but the stuff in that store was all canned, crappy, processed vegetables, canola oil, okay? There were no eggs. There was milk on the shelf, okay? No real juice. All the juice had chemicals in it. And it's hot as hell in Dakar, right? I need to be hydrated. Like, there was nobody ever, when I moved around Dakar, I never saw anybody selling anything to drink. Like, it's like you could be in Hawaii and people are selling coconut water. Or when I was in Cuba, people were selling coconuts. Okay, I remember when I was in Jamaica, I went to Jamaica once, I was in 2006, and I was on the Kingston side of the island. And I remember being in Jamaica and not being able to find it, and just noticing people drinking a lot of soda, a lot of pineapple soda. I remember then thinking, like, they have all these tropical fruits. But I didn't see people drinking juice. I saw them drinking soda. And I felt like back then it was easier to find juice in Manhattan, like real juice, than it was there. When I was in St. Martin, I never saw any real juice either, not even at a restaurant. You had to go to the store and buy juice that was in, like, from the supermarket. But at least in St. Martin, they had Simply Lemonade. Because Simply Lemonade is like the only brand that I drink in the U.S. because it doesn't have a bunch of high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, and sodium benzoate and stuff like that. But when I was in Dakar, the few little corner stores they had, and this is also true in London, whatever, the few little corner stores they had, all the juice, 100% of the juice they had was chemical laced. It was like all Tampico. I don't know if you know what Tampico is, but Tampico is like this thick chemical juice that has artificial colors, artificial flavors, this straight poison, all kinds of preservatives. That was how the juice was in stores in Dakar. And, people can, in America, some people might think, oh, you're a picky eater. But being there, I'm like, I remember this, I was hanging out with this dude and I was thirsty. And he said, I can go downstairs and get you some juice. And I said to him, is it fresh squeezed juice? And he acted like he couldn't answer that question. He acted like he was annoyed because I asked him, is it fresh squeezed juice? And he was like really annoyed by that question. And I'm like, I just want to know. So he's like, well, you can come with me. I'm like, oh, I'll gladly go with you. So I went to the store and everything, and even the coconut water. They had I don't know if it was like Goya coconut water. I don't consume Goya products at all. All Goya products are full of MSG. All of them. Goya is straight poison, okay? But it was like Goya coconut water with all these chemicals in it. Now, in New York City, on the island of Manhattan, okay, I can find coconut water without chemicals all over the place in corner stores. I could be in Brooklyn, okay? The bodegas in Brooklyn, okay? You could find 3 different kinds of coconut water without any chemicals in it. You can find grass-fed butter. You can find eggs, pasture-raised eggs. You can find juices and, ginger ale, Bruce Koch ginger ale, which is made in Brooklyn, made from real ginger without any of those chemicals. You can find all that easily in Manhattan, not even at the supermarket, not just Manhattan and Brooklyn, because the Bronx and Queens be like a little bit different. But you can find that stuff really easily, okay? But when it's hot like that, I have to stay hydrated. And staying hydrated is not simply about drinking water, okay? I have videos where I talk about hydration. When you're in a state of dehydration or when you're outside in the heat and you're sweating a lot, you need something that has electrolytes and carbohydrates. Hydration is not simply about water. It's about your blood sugar levels and your electrolyte balance, okay? And that's why if you pass out from dehydration and go to the hospital, they don't give you water. They give you a saline fluid, okay? That's similar to coconut water in terms of the electrolyte balance and the carbohydrate balance, okay? So, but I never saw anybody anywhere in Dakar selling anything to drink. Anytime I got anything to drink, I had to be at a restaurant and order something in the restaurant, okay? So again, like, there's not, you can't be there and be walking and be like, I'm hot, I'm thirsty, let me get something to drink. That shit is not happening, okay? Okay, so next thing is, Senegal is a French colonized country. So I know I've been to Paris, and I think the food in Paris is okay. Okay, the food in Paris is better than Amsterdam, which I'm not talking about the quality. I just mean like Amsterdam. They're very meat and potatoes kind of. They eat a lot of cheese in Amsterdam, and they're very much a meat and potatoes kind of people. But their food is very bland. But Amsterdam is one country. Well, city. Amsterdam's a city. Let me say the Netherlands. Okay, the Netherlands is one of my favorite countries that I've been to. But the Netherlands is a very healthy country. People are tall. People are strong. They're fit. And they eat good quality cheese and stuff like that. It's just not the most interesting food, but in terms of quality, yeah. But Paris, to me, out of the places I've been in Europe, I've been to London, it was like food hell. Okay, I was like traumatized by how horrible the food was in London, in terms of taste and quality. I've been to London, I've been to Madrid, I've been to Paris, and I've been to Amsterdam, right? And I can tell you that, Paris was the best of them all, but the food in Paris is not better than Houston. It's not better than Chicago. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think it's better than Baltimore, to be honest, okay? But the thing I don't like about, Paris is that they eat like pastries for breakfast. Like, to them, breakfast is like pastries or a baguette or something. So because Senegal, which for me, for breakfast, I like eggs, some cheesy grits, some, eggs that have different things in it, or potatoes. Like when I make my breakfast at home, a lot of times I make eggs and I'll put like peppers and onions, maybe some mushrooms, maybe some spinach, different kinds of cheese. I'll make bacon, good quality bacon. I fry my breakfast potatoes in bacon fat with garlic and onions, peppers. Maybe I'll put some rosemary or some thyme in it. You know what I'm saying? If I'm eating out, like shrimp and grits. And shrimp and grits is made so many different ways in this country. Fish and grits, you have omelets and grits, eggs benedict, grits and potatoes. Like, there's a wide variety of things that we eat in America for breakfast, but I like eggs. Eggs are good for your brain. Eggs are good for your body and your muscles. I can't get up in the morning and be eating donuts and bagels. I mean, growing up in New York City, I ate bagels every day. When I was in junior high school, I don't ever want another bagel for the rest of my life. I'm never eating another bagel for the rest of my life, okay? But that's not a good breakfast. Cereal is not a good breakfast, okay? Cereal is not good, period. It's actually very bad for you. So, to me, breakfast is not a baguette and coffee. And in Dakar, it seemed like that's what people eat for breakfast. It's like a baguette and coffee or something, okay? Very much off that French thing. That's not a healthy breakfast. Also, trying to find tea is not easy, right? So one of the things that I do appreciate about America is that we have options. We have access to options. Now, of course, America is a huge country, so it depends on where you are. So this is a general statement because some parts of the country, access to certain things is more difficult. But in general, like if I want to find a chai latte or a matcha latte, I can find that here. If I want to go to the supermarket and find chai latte concentrates or yerba mate is a tea from South America that I consume, or I want to find green matcha powder, or I want to find echinacea tea or other things. You can easily find that here. Like when I go to other countries, they don't have that. And I have to drink coffee, which I don't like to drink coffee, but I do need caffeine every morning. But it's just that when I'm in the States or, in a place where I have access to it, I drink tea. I drink yerba mate mixed with chai, or I drink a matcha latte, okay? I don't like just drinking coffee, right? But you don't have access to all of that there. So you got to do what you got to do. Now, one thing I did notice, like my first meal in Dakar was this like roasted pork. And I was surprised by it because I thought it was like a Muslim country. I learned that it's not a Muslim country. It's a secular country. It's just that the Muslim faith is dominant, but they're very tolerant to other things. So I thought because there was so many Muslims that they didn't eat pork, but nah, they eat pork, okay? And a lot of Africans eat pork, okay? I know I have Nigerian friends that grew up eating pork, but forget about Africans. Jamaicans eat pork if they ain't Rasta. You know, Puerto Ricans eat a lot of pork. Dominicans eat a lot of pork. Haitians. I grew up eating pork, but then when I went to Haiti, I grew up eating pork, but then for like a short time in my 20s, I stopped eating it because I believed this hype that it was bad for you. And the reason why I believed it, because most people who preach that pork is bad, it's coming from religion. I never let religion dictate what I eat. To me, I use scientific facts and history and, what have we seen healthy populations eat? I look at what the longest living people in the world eat. The best bodies in the world eat, right? And they all eat pork, all right? The only people in the world that don't eat pork are Muslim countries, okay? Like India or something. But they eat tons of pork in Mexico, okay? In Cuba. In Cuba, like, I've been to Cuba 5 times. And there you have, this is an observation because I pay attention. I observe the obvious, right? I pay attention. But then when I go do research, a lot of times the facts that I find, they just support what I already observed. Like I told you about this air quality in Dakar. I noticed it. I myself felt sick. I still feel like I'm trying to get that shit out of my lungs and my nose, right? So I didn't need to read that to find it out. But when I looked it up just to confirm, just to have the facts to support what I already know, I found them, right? So, the longest living healthiest people in the world, they eat pork. Now, one thing about Senegal, there's a lot of Senegalese people in Harlem. And they don't interact with black Americans like that. Because I can tell you, I've never had a Senegalese friend. I dated a Senegalese dude once when I was in my early 20s. But that's it. Like, I have a lot of African friends, a lot of West African friends. None of them are Senegalese. And I really only come across Senegalese people in Harlem. So, but one thing that I observed about them is that they were beautiful. Like, the men were tall. I love looking at tall, beautiful men, especially tall, beautiful black men, right? And again, I look at bodies, how bodies have formed. Because one thing I noticed in the U.S., and I can tell you this is only coming in these other countries. Just give it 20 years and see what happens. Maybe even 10, but definitely give it 20. In the U.S., I felt like this younger generation, the people who are like teenagers now, people who are in their early 20s, they're not developing right. People who are 25, they all look little and underdeveloped. It's rare. I don't see as many 18-year-olds and 25-year-olds who look like, like well-developed. A lot of them look prepubescent. Way more so than when I was that age. And that is from eating all this processed food. When you're in your growing and develop, when you're in the years of growing and developing, when you're a child, when you're in the womb, starts in the womb. Starts with what your parents ate before they got pregnant with you, right? But then when you're in the womb, when you're a baby, when you're a child, when you're growing, all that whole growing and developmental years, nutrition is critical. Because you're growing and developing, your body is building. So if you don't have the right nutrition during those formative years, you won't reach your full genetic potential, okay? So that's why a lot of this younger generation seems so frail and underdeveloped and prepubescent. Yeah, so small with bad teeth. Yeah, a lot of different problems. So now one thing though that I noticed about, in Senegal, the first night that I was there, and this is one thing that I really liked. I just could never get into it because I couldn't eat, right, or breathe. But the first night I was in Dakar, I noticed when I was riding in the car next to the beach that there was like this very intense training apparatus on the beach, okay? Had all this workout equipment. Now, I've seen workout equipment on beaches before, like you see it in Miami, and Venice Beach in LA. But in Dakar, it was like a mile and a half of it, okay? So it was this long stretch of people training for real. And I noticed that, and I like that, okay? Because, again, I'm looking at access to a healthy, active lifestyle. Some countries, it seems like people don't work out. Now, in Dakar, it seems like the men probably work out more than the women. I don't know how active the women are, but I found out that wrestling is a national sport of Dakar, and the way that they wrestle is not even like American wrestling. It's different, but physical prowess is a thing there, okay, especially amongst the men. And I like that. I like that culture of training. You do have female wrestlers in Senegal, but they're like in some remote villages. You have certain sects of women, and you can go on YouTube and look it up, who they say they were born into wrestling. It's in their blood, it's in their bloodline. But the bulk of the wrestlers in Senegal are men, right? So that was one thing I liked. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to train while I'm here. But I couldn't, because I couldn't eat. I could never get a good meal. And when I work out, I'm even more hungry. Like when I'm not working out, I could be hungry and maybe kind of ignore it. It's not pleasant, but I can maybe like get by on something. But when I'm working out, I need to eat. Okay, I need to eat. I need to eat good food. I need to eat, or I'm like going to lose it. I'll get a headache. I'm like irritable. I can't think. I need good food. So I could not work out in the car because I didn't have access to food. Not only was the food quality bad, but it's like even getting it, like, so access I talk about, right? So like in Medellin, Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia, in Cali, Colombia, in Mexico City, just now when I was in Guayaquil in Cuenca, Ecuador, you can order food to be delivered to you, right? Same thing in Europe or America. Like there are apps that you can order food to be delivered, because sometimes you don't always have time to go get food. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, especially like I can't leave the house, you know, and try to go find food every time I need to eat, because it's time consuming and I have other things that I'm doing as well. But also, or even in the States, like I cook a lot, but sometimes I can't cook. Sometimes I'm too busy that day or I'm too tired, but I need to eat, so I have to order something, right? So in Dakar, that's really not possible. Like not only is ordering food like really difficult, but even the choices that you have to order is all crap. It's horrible options, it's crap. Okay? Then if you say I want to buy food, but you can't find good quality eggs, you can't find good quality milk, you can't find good quality fats, because in the States, like if I want a fried chicken, I'm gonna go buy some duck fat or some good quality lard. If I want to fry French fries, I'll fry it in some good quality tallow, some good quality ghee. Okay? I make my eggs in good quality butter. But I think in Mexico a couple times I saw ghee in the supermarket. But in a lot of these countries, you're not, especially I'm talking about Senegal, you're not going to go to the store and find good quality lard, good quality tallow, duck fat, and ghee in the supermarket. The one thing I did see in the supermarket, in the American store, was coconut oil. I think I saw coconut oil in there. That was it. Okay, coconut oil is a good oil to cook with, even though it's not, you can't cook everything with coconut oil, okay? I wouldn't fry French fries in coconut oil. I wouldn't fry chicken in coconut oil. So you don't have access to those things, right? So access to that is a problem. Somebody just asked me, where did I find the best quality food? Thus far, I have found access to the best quality food in the U.S. And because again, I said access. Access means how easily can you obtain this as well, right? Because some countries you may have it, but you have to go out your way to get it. Maybe I would say the Netherlands and France. Now, I have only been to one city in France. That was Paris. I've only been in the Netherlands. I've been to a few different places. I've been there twice, and I've been to a few different places besides Amsterdam. I just don't think that the food tastes that good in Amsterdam, but the quality of it is definitely better than what you find in the Americas. Okay. You hear Greece is good. Yeah, I've heard Greece is good. I heard Italy is good. I make my judgment by reading and by like when I go and actually see for myself, right? And I can understand the ingredients in like Italian and Spanish and a lot of times in French and Portuguese because I studied Latin and Spanish and the root words. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now let's talk about. So one of the dudes that I was with, he took me we were eating, and so I said, let me ask him some questions, because he was telling me, he told me a couple of dudes told me that people mostly eat fast food, okay? Because I remember a couple times somebody took me to a fast food place. I'm like, I'm not eating this, and they were like, well, that's like the common thing here. And when I say fast food, it's not just American chains. They have their own versions of fast food, right? But also, this dude told me that people use a lot of margarine. He told me that, okay? But I already know these things because, again, I'm aware of food issues in developing countries. And this is why when you live someplace, like if you're in Puerto Rico or you're in Haiti or you're on an island somewhere where you have a hurricane, and then people are shipping in food to help you, trust and believe they're shipping in the worst food. They're shipping in canned vegetables. They're shipping in powdered milk. Like when you're dependent, when you're in a place where you're poor and depleted and you lost everything and you're looking for handouts from the government or other governments, they send you the worst food, okay? The worst. So that's why for me, my number one priority in life, if I spend money on nothing else, it's going to be good quality food. Clothes can wait. Sneakers can wait. My hair and my food, okay? Got to be, like that's a priority. I cannot be so broke that I'm like, oh, I have to eat off the dollar menu at McDonald's. That's not ever fucking happening. It's not happening, okay? Okay. So now, but one thing he also told me was, because I asked him if he ate a lot of organ meats. The French people prefer butter and olive oil. That's not true. The French cook with a lot of butter, but they also cook with duck fat. They cook with tallow and lard, but it's not just butter and olive oil. I don't even think the French cook with olive oil that much. Okay. And so, yeah, he told me, when I asked him, do you guys eat a lot of organ meats? He told me that he ate liver and heart, right? I asked about other organs. He said, no, liver and heart. But he told me he ate heart once a year. It was some type of religious ceremony where I forget what animal he said it was. I wrote it down. A sheep. Yeah. He said it was a sheep that they sacrificed for a Muslim celebration once a year, and then he ate the heart, right? But he eats liver. Okay. Now, organ meats are very critical for your health, and that's one of the things, I noticed too, like in Mexico, and like they eat a lot of organ meats. So even though in Mexico they drink a lot of soda and stuff like that, I noticed that the kids in Mexico, and I've noticed this in Latin America too. When I was in Cuba, when I was in Colombia, like the kids, they're so well behaved. Like you don't see kids crying and screaming and acting bad. Even though the plane from Senegal, like 8-hour flight, like people had babies, the babies never cried or made any noise. So when I notice calm babies and children, I'm like, because babies who are very irritable and kids who are always irritable, and like a lot of times something's wrong with their nutrition. But organ meats is very critical for growing and developing children and adults, okay? Forget a multivitamin, organ meats, eating liver, heart, brain, and when you go to a Mexican restaurant, they have all kinds of organs. You go to a Peruvian restaurant, they be having beef heart on a stick. Everybody eats liver in the world. It's just that a lot of the younger generations have moved away from it. But every culture has a culture of eating liver from some animal, okay? So that was good about the diet, okay? So we got the pork, we got the organ meats, two things that are actually very good for you. In Dakar, there was, it's so funny how people like to lie. Somebody said, I'm in Dakar and you have to know the places here. That's bullshit, okay? And that's what I'm saying. People aren't telling the truth, okay? People are not telling the truth about access. People a lot of times like to idolize certain places and think, oh, I'm in Africa, I'm in the Caribbean, and they automatically think the food is good. And they automatically just shit on the food in the U.S. and talk about, oh, the U.S. is all this bad food. Absolutely not true, okay? You do not have access. In Dakar, you cannot just go in the supermarket. They do cook with a lot of margarine. The juice in the store is all full of chemicals. I could go around. I'm in Harlem right now. I could go outside and go around the corner to Seatown. Seatown is a basic supermarket in New York City that I would never go food shopping at. Okay, I would never buy meat there. I would never buy produce there. But I can find grass-fed butter there. I can find pasture eggs there, and I can find Simply Lemonade and other juices that don't have chemicals in it. Coconut water doesn't have chemicals in it. I can find that. Okay, so stop with the lies. You cannot find that in Dakar. Okay. And like I said, I don't know if you heard it from the beginning, but the air is terrible. It's some of the worst air in the world. So why in the world Abidjan is better than more developed than Dakar? Yes, I know that. I know. I'm talking about Dakar though. And some places are developed and still have a bunch of crappy food though. Okay, but I'm talking about Dakar. Okay, they're definitely the food. And then there's a lot of ice cream places, right? Everybody loves ice cream. Okay, I love ice cream. Like everywhere I go in the world, in Latin America, Cuba has a huge ice cream culture. And when I was in Santiago de Cuba, like what I loved about it was there was a woman in Santiago, like in Cuba and Havana, there's like ice cream restaurants, right? Where people sit down and they order platters of ice cream. Not one scoop, no, several scoops of ice cream. Which is what I'm about. I eat several scoops of ice cream. People 5-6 scoops of ice cream in Cuba. But it's good quality ice cream. And then in Santiago de Cuba, which is on the other side of the island, there was a woman on the street that had a churn. And she was making ice cream right out the churn. And growing up, ice cream making was a huge thing to Black Americans. I think the Black Americans invented ice cream in the U.S. Every Black American I know, I don't care if they're from the North or the South, where they are from, everybody had a history of making ice cream in their family. My mom is from the hills of Western Pennsylvania, close to Ohio. And my dad is from St. Augustine, Florida, and they both grew up churning ice cream. Okay. So if you are Black American, let me know. Do you have a history of ice cream churning in your family? And if so, where are you from? Where's your family from in the U.S.? Okay. So good quality ice cream is actually a health food. I did a video about that. Good quality ice cream should just have cream, whole milk, I think egg yolks, or salt, sugar, strawberries, okay? It's not supposed to have guar gum and carrageenan and xanthan gum and artificial colors and artificial flavors and, tapioca syrup and tapioca starch. No, that's not ice cream. That's poison, okay? All right? Now, in Dakar, there was a lot of ice cream places, right? And I went to, in America, like, the gelato places, they give you a sample. They'll give you samples. Now, when COVID happened, like, oh my God, I might have to go downtown today. One of my favorite ice cream places in New York, it's called Il Laboratory Gelato or something. It's Il Laboratory Gelato. It's in Lower Manhattan. And they stopped giving samples during COVID, right? But it's common in the U.S. to give samples in gelato places, but in Dakar, you're supposed to pay for the ice cream first, and then they give you samples. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to buy ice cream because I need to taste it first to see if it's even good quality ice cream. How are you going to tell me I have to pay for it first, and then you give me samples? They don't do that in the States. Yes, Tiana, you went to that Il Laboratory Gelato? Yeah, see, the thing is, New York doesn't have enough good quality ice cream places to me. Like, there's this place called the Sugar Hill Creamery, which is in Harlem, and they're supposed to use good ingredients, but I think their ice cream is terrible or just nasty, like the flavor. I don't like it. But and then there's Van Leeuwen ice cream, which started in Brooklyn, and now Van Leeuwen is in Houston. I think they're in Amsterdam. They expanded, but they started in Brooklyn, and they're all over Brooklyn and Manhattan. And again, in New York, access to healthy food is easier in Manhattan and Brooklyn than it is in the Bronx and Queens. It's like the Bronx and Queens are neglected. Staten Island's not even part of the conversation. But Manhattan and Brooklyn, you can find better stuff, right? And Manhattan is easier than Brooklyn. But like California, one thing I love about Cali is the ice cream capital, okay? There's times, that I've been in LA and I've spent a whole day just going from one artisanal ice cream place to the next. And the ice cream places, they're telling you, we're getting milk from this farm over here. We're getting these ingredients from over here. They're telling you where they're sourcing their ingredients. They're not putting all that crap in there. Cali's up on that, okay? And really good weed, you know what I'm saying? Which gets into the other part of access to a healthy, active lifestyle. Some of you may or may not know that I'm in a graduate program now for medical cannabis science and therapeutics, right? And, cannabis medicine, cannabis can use for many different health problems. People who are on pain meds, opioids, people who are on antidepressants, people who are on NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics. Cannabis can replace all of that and actually help your body maintain homeostasis. I don't take pharmaceuticals, right? But in these countries, the only option, if you have a headache, let's take a pharmaceutical. Only option for antibiotic, pharmaceutical, right? Cannabis medicine is very much illegal. You say you must not have gone to the right place in New York to get weed because it wasn't better than what you got in Detroit. Yeah, let me know where you got weed. I mean, in New York, there's weed everywhere. Of course, like, we don't really have... I think we're new to the dispensary thing, but, like, I don't even get my weed from dispensaries in Chicago. I've gone to dispensaries in Denver, in California. All the dispensaries I've gone to have been on the West Coast. Even though this now is in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, I really wanted to go to dispensaries in Massachusetts. Oh, in Cali, the weed wasn't better than what you got in Detroit. That's interesting. Okay. I don't know. I think California has a lot of good weed. In Detroit, whenever I got weed, I haven't been to Detroit in a long time, but whenever I'd been there, it was my friends that I got it from, so they just had it, so I don't know where it came from. But I heard from them that the weed in the dispensaries in Detroit wasn't that good. I don't know how true that was. That was some years ago. Chicago, I definitely heard that was the case. Now, I've never gone to the dispensaries in Chicago because it's too expensive, and it's just like, I have people that would just bring it to me, right? But cannabis medicine is illegal in Senegal. Okay, it's completely illegal. So again, access to a healthy, active lifestyle. To me, having access to cannabis medicine is a part of that. Okay, don't have that. So it's like, okay, if I were to leave America and move to Dakar, I can't use cannabis medicine, and I use that shit for everything. Everything. For pain, to prevent infections, to kill viruses. I mean, so many things. So don't have access to good quality food, okay? Don't have you're breathing some of the most toxic air in the world. So why would I leave here and move there? Like, and you have people who are raising their children. How irresponsible. I, as a grown adult, couldn't breathe. Now you're putting babies and children in that situation? So someone's asked me, have I been to Ghana? No, I have not been to Ghana, okay? I wasn't really interested in going to Ghana. And that's a whole nother... I'm going to talk about that on my other page. But since going to Dakar, I thought maybe... Because people were like, oh, I think you'll like it better. And they speak English. And it's more turned up. But I'm like... I know that Senegal doesn't represent every African country. I know it's a huge continent, right? But I don't believe that Ghana doesn't have a bunch of processed food. Because like I said, it's the same way in the Caribbean. It's the same way in South America. I know this black naturopathic doctor in America who 10 plus years ago, he was telling me about the work he was doing in Africa. He was in Africa, going to different countries, because he was telling me about how bad the processed food is. Now, the average person is totally unaware of processed food. Like, most people don't even know. Most people, 98% of the people whose houses I go to in the U.S. are eating a bunch of processed crap. People have no idea what they're eating. So this is definitely worse in these other countries. They don't even realize how bad the food is that they're eating. So when I researched Ghana, what I found was that Ghana also has some of the worst air in Africa, okay, that rivals Senegal. Okay, just Google it. Google toxic air in Ghana and see what you find. Google air quality in Ghana and see what you find. Okay. So there's a lot of and then also Google ultra processed foods in Ghana, and you will see how it's documented that Ghana also has a lot of ultra processed foods. So I haven't been to Ghana, but I already know that's the case. Now, is Ghana as bad as Senegal? I don't know. I would have to put boots in the ground to go see, is it as bad? But it's bad, okay? So just do your own research too. Look it up. Now, so all the gelato that I tasted in Senegal definitely had a lot of chemicals in it. I was like, I could not eat this. The shit just tasted like artificial flavors, artificial everything. It was nasty. I can't eat shit like that. I just can't eat. I can't do it. So the dude who took me there, he had to buy ice cream because they ended up giving me the samples, and like, you're supposed to pay for the ice cream first and then take the samples, which is a scam. Okay, that's bullshit. Okay, and that's one thing I don't like, about Senegal and what I've heard with Africa in general. Is that they always want you to pay for stuff. Like I just watched a YouTube video with a girl who lives in Ghana, And a couple people, okay? One woman who left Ghana, lived there, and went back to Canada because of the healthcare system. I'm going to get into that. And they say that when you go to the hospital in Ghana, like let's say you have an emergency, before they treat you, they want to know, are you going to have an IV? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And you have to pay for all of that. You have to pay for every little thing before they even treat you. So imagine going to the hospital and you are incredibly sick, you can barely talk. And they're asking you about all things you're going to get so you can pay for it before they treat you. America's not even that bad, okay? So, yeah, the pollution is the exhaust from cars because there's no fuel standards. If you're new to this video, I talked about it in the beginning, so when it's archived, you can go back and listen to the beginning. I got into depth with that. I'll also post articles below on my YouTube, but yeah, it's the fuel standards and how old the cars are and the fact that people burn rubber and stuff outside, okay? That the air quality is terrible. When I tell you terrible, I'm saying terrible. I don't understand how people walk around all the time acting like, oh, Dakar is a beautiful place. And I moved here and that was a great idea. And no, you sit like nobody's, how are you breathing? How are you breathing? And then everywhere I went, they had all this artificial air freshener everywhere. I hate that shit. Every place had it and it was so strong. That shit is also very bad for you. Just research it. Google the toxins in air freshener and incense. And see if they're not full of cancer-causing chemicals. And then another thing, Dakar had no trees. There's no trees. I saw like 5 palm trees in Dakar, and they look sickly. They didn't even look healthy. I need a lot of trees to feel like I can breathe well. And even though I'm from New York City, I'm from an area of Manhattan where there's a lot of trees. A lot of big, tall trees. And New York City has a lot of parks. I never saw any parks in Dakar. Never once did I see a park. I saw beaches that were like really dirty, and even on the beaches they weren't selling anything. Like there's a dude that I was talking to, he's from Mali, but he grew up in Atlanta, but he lives in Dakar. And he was even talking about this. He's lived in Brazil, he's lived in a lot of countries. And he told me when he lived in Brazil, he was right across from the beach. And there were people selling things on the beach all day. But in Dakar, nobody's selling anything on the beach. So you can't go to the beach and be like, I'm thirsty. I want something to drink. Ain't nobody selling shit. Like, there's no options, okay? And I remember when I was in, semi-desert. I don't like that dust and that sand shit. The air, I've never been around air that was so dusty and sandy in my life. Never. Okay? Which is why I don't like the desert. I don't want to live anywhere where there's sandstorms. Like, you can miss me with Las Vegas. A sandstorm? Give me a snowstorm over a sandstorm any day, okay? Any day. And it's like, I like to moisturize. Who's trying to go outside and have dirty air and car exhaust and sand blowing all around the air? This shit just makes you feel disgusting. So, hold on. Another thing is, you can't order, like, I live in Chicago now. In Chicago also, lots of beautiful trees, especially in my neighborhood, okay? There's always parts of cities, like the downtown in cities doesn't have enough trees, which is why I would never live downtown Chicago. I would never live downtown New York. I like the neighborhoods that have a lot of tall trees and stuff like that. It's beautiful, but I can breathe better. In my apartment in Chicago, I have lots of plants. You know what I'm saying? Snow over sand, It's so funny how people who live in hot places, they like to talk so much shit when it's in the wintertime, when it's snowing up north. People in Cali, people in Florida talk mad shit, Vegas, whatever. But I'm like, we don't taunt you, Florida people, and Caribbean people, we don't taunt you when it's hurricane season. Just now, I was in Fort Lauderdale flying to New York, and the woman who was checking me in on Clear kept saying, oh, it's cold in New York. You're going to New York, it's cold up there. She kept making these comments. So I want to think, your little fucking ass city almost got blown away by the hurricane. Every single year, you guys have horrible hurricanes. You have to flee. You're losing power for 2 weeks. What are you talking about? Do we taunt you? Do we make fun of you guys and getting that your shit's about to flood? We don't say that, but they have so much shit to say. People in Cali, same thing. But do we make fun of them when they got those forest fires and they have to flee their homes because they don't know which direction the fire is going? Snow is way better than dealing with fires, okay, that are burning through places. And you have to leave your home. I've never had to flee my home because of snow and hope that it's there when I come back. People I know in New Orleans have lost everything they ever owned from Hurricane Katrina. That don't happen with the snow. It snows, it melts, you shovel it, what the fuck ever. It's beautiful when it snows, it's peaceful. We're not dealing with earthquakes. We don't make fun of them. And then in Vegas, which I do not like Las Vegas at all, do not like the desert at all, okay? To each his own, but you can miss me with the desert. Put me in the rainforest or the swamp or the jungle or some shit. Miss me with the fucking desert, right? But Vegas, they're having sandstorms to the point people can't breathe. I'm like, what? Sandstorm? And y'all talking about snow? Anyhow. Now, in Chicago, I don't have access to things as much as I do in New York, right? Chicago, when it comes to access to a healthy, active lifestyle, is not as good as it is in New York. And there's certain things in Chicago, like, for example, New York has a lot of herb shops. Can't find any herb shops in Chicago except traditional Chinese herb shops. And you have to be a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. But just herb shops that have American herbs and herbs from all over the world, I don't find that there. But so when I need certain herbs in Chicago, I have to order it to be delivered to me on Amazon. Certain things, I have to order to be delivered on Amazon, but at least I have that option. If you're in Dakar, if you're in a lot of these African countries, you can't just order something to be delivered because you can't find it and just be like, oh, I'm gonna go on Amazon and have it delivered. Nope. If you can't even get delivered, you're probably paying like $100 in taxes and all kinds of things, and it has to go through customs 25 times. It'll take you like a month to get the package. Again, and that's an issue with access, right? I'm talking about access. Another thing about Senegal that people are unaware of, okay, is that C-sections are very common. And that women prefer C-sections in Dakar. I think they said 1 in 2 women have C-sections. And they prefer it, okay? And if you go on YouTube and you write C-sections in Dakar, you will see news interviews where women are saying that they prefer C-sections. And the thing is that the healthcare system in Dakar is very unstable, okay? Very unstable. And don't just take it from me, do your research, but it's very unstable. Yes, the women in Senegal prefer C-sections. So again, people are always talking about how bad the birth rates are in America, and they are. But they ain't the worst, trust me. Now, there's another article, and I'll place this article below. It's miseducation. It's miseducation, but it's also the conditions there. Like, if you're going to be, like, giving birth to babies naturally, you need clean places. People aren't living in sanitary places. Now, let me tell you something. The thing about infectious disease, and I've done videos on jabs and stuff like that because I'm anti-jab. I'm anti-all jabs, okay? They're miseducated or undereducated. Correct, Tiana. Correct. So to have a healthy home birth and natural birth, right? You have to be healthy. Like, you yourself want to have good nutrition. You have to be, giving birth in a clean place, a clean location, and that's a hard thing for them. That's number one. Number two, what was I about to say? There's something else I was about to say about that. I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Hopefully it'll come back. Infectious disease. So when it comes to these epidemics of any kind of epidemic of disease, of infectious disease that has ever happened, and they try to tell you that jabs, okay, I'm not going to say the word too much because I'm going to get my video taken down for medical misinformation, okay? Any type of infectious disease outbreak that they tell you that jabs ended the polio and all this stuff, that's not true, okay? I have several books, several references for you to look at. I post many of them on my Instagram page, so you can look through my Instagram page or message me or whatever. There's several books. Or you can go on Amazon, do your own research. Don't always be dependent on me. Go on Amazon. There's several books written by scientists, doctors, and journalists about the dangerous history around jabs and how it has never helped to eradicate any disease. And all of the people... That's good, Tiana. All of the people who, Tiana, I just lost my train. Yeah, all of the places where there was like bad outbreaks of infectious disease, this was the thing. They had bad water quality, bad air quality, bad sanitation. There's usually people living in cities in unsanitary situations, and they're malnourished. And that's another problem in Senegal. But malnourishment is not just about, oh, I'm starving, okay, I don't have food. Malnourishment means you're not getting the nutrients you need to be healthy. You could be eating all the food in the world and still not be getting the nutrients you need because you're eating processed crap. If you're constantly eating McDonald's and Doritos and soda, you're eating all the time, but you're still malnourished because you're not getting the nutrients you need. Nutrients, key word, okay? So when women are malnourished and stuff like that, it's hard to have a healthy natural birth as well. So in their case, poor food quality, that's the reason why infectious disease is so rampant in certain places, right? I'm not going to get super in depth about that now. I've done that in other videos that have gotten taken down, which is why I have my OnlyFans page, onlyfans.com/thebodyscientist, because I can at least speak the truth there and not worry about getting strikes on YouTube and having my YouTube page deleted because I'm not going along with the agenda, okay? So now this article, which I'm going to post below on YouTube, it's on a website called healthaffairs.org. And it says people in sub-Saharan Africa, hold on, let me see something. Let me move this over so I can read this. Okay. People in sub-Saharan Africa rate their health and healthcare among the lowest in the world. Okay. People in sub-Saharan Africa rate their health and healthcare among the lowest in the world. This is from March 2015, right? So again, anybody who's accusing me of, I don't know what I'm talking about, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Not only can I observe the obvious with my eyes, okay, in my body, but then just look it up, and the facts are all over the internet that support it, all right? So, the abstract, it says, the health of people in sub-Saharan Africa is a major global concern. However, data are weak and little is known about how people in the region perceive their health or healthcare. We used data from the Gallup World Poll in 2012 to document sub-Saharan Africans' perceived health status, their satisfaction with healthcare, their contact with medical professionals, and the priority they attach to healthcare. In comparison to other regions in the world, sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest ratings of well-being and the lowest satisfaction with healthcare. It also has the second lowest perception of personal health, after only the former Soviet Union and its European satellites. HIV prevalence is positively correlated with perceived improvements in healthcare in countries with high prevalence. This is consistent with an improvement in at least some healthcare services as a result of the largely aid-funded rollout of antiretroviral treatment. Even so, sub-Saharan Africans do not prioritize healthcare as a matter of policy, although donors are increasingly shifting their aid efforts in the region toward health. Okay? Africa is the continent with the world's highest mortality rates. Okay? Listen. Africa is the continent with the world's highest mortality rates. And it is the only continent where deaths from infectious disease still outnumber deaths from chronic disease. Okay? You hear that? Africa is the continent with the world's highest mortality rates. And it is the only continent where deaths from infectious disease still outnumber deaths from chronic disease. Now we know that chronic disease is caused by toxins and stuff like that, but what did I just tell you? So is infectious disease. Places that have horrible infectious disease are also places that are highly toxic. Okay? And in Africa, it's the continent with the world's highest mortality rates. And it's the only continent where deaths from infectious disease still outnumber deaths from chronic disease. Key freaking point. So who told me that I don't know what I'm talking about? Who told me I don't know where to go? Sounds like whoever told me that you don't have critical thinking skills. You don't know how to observe the obvious. You don't have comprehension skills. And you definitely don't really know how to research. Okay? So going on with it, as documented below, spending on healthcare in sub-Saharan Africa is low. A typical figure is around $100 per capita in 2005, price-adjusted terms, about half of which is spent in the private sector. It's also a testing ground for Western pharma industries. Yes, it is. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And Africans, a lot of times, they really believe in these pharmaceuticals. They really want these jabs. Not all of them, but a lot of them, they really believe in it. They really want it. Actually, Ghana, let me tell you something about Ghana, okay? Not only was I not thinking about going to Ghana, but now I would for like 4 days just to put my boots in the ground and see, because I don't want to commit to staying any of these places anymore for a long time because I can't breathe this air and eat this food. But one of the main reason why I'm not going to Ghana right now is because Ghana has the most restrictive jab policy in the world. Not only does Ghana require a C-19 jab to come there, which Senegal does not, Ecuador does not, Cuba does not, Colombia does not, Mexico does not, most of the world does not anymore. Canada just got rid of theirs. Canada had it, they got rid of theirs. So not only does Ghana still require that, but in Ghana you're getting jabbed on arrival. If you come to Ghana and you're not jabbed, they're jabbing you on arrival. Nobody else is doing that. So that right there tells me something about health, access to a healthy lifestyle, and the healthcare system there. Because first of all, a lot of people who are enforcing these jabs, they're doing it because of money. They're not really doing it because they care that it's always going to prevent. No, they're doing it because the pharmaceutical companies pay them to do that. Okay. And I remember being in Costa Rica years ago because I used to teach workshops to women in Costa Rica around reproductive health and stuff. And there was a woman who I was working with in Costa Rica years ago. She told me she lost an ovary because she was taking some type of over-the-counter birth control that is outlawed in America. Okay, outlawed here. Now we already know that in America there's all kinds of foods and pharmaceuticals that are approved by the FDA and sold in the stores, easy for us to get, that are poison. They're killing people, but they're still FDA approved and they're still being sold. So if it's outlawed here, you know it's bad. Okay, you know that. So the U.S. is putting their outlawed medications in these countries, and it's over the counter for them. That is true. It's also true when it comes to jabs. If you read some of the books that I've looked at, what these pharmaceutical companies have done in Africa and the disease that they've spread with these jabs is crazy. There are African countries where pharmaceutical companies have gone around, not pharmaceutical, the United Nations, I don't know. Like, I know a doctor, I know an infectious disease doctor in Maryland who did that type of work, you know, but they're going to African countries and sometimes forcefully jabbing these kids, okay? It's caused a lot of death and disease, not just in Africa, but also in South America, parts of the Caribbean. They do it in poor countries, okay? Okay, so I'm not going to keep going on with this article, but you can look at it. It's in healthaffairs.org. But it says, I'm just going to skip. It says, Africa is also the continent with the poorest health data. Few African countries have complete vital registration systems. In addition, in contrast to the situation in high-income countries, there's a dearth of information on how Africans perceive their own health. So, I mean, and then I've listened to people who live in Ghana, right, or Senegal or whatever, talk about how bad the healthcare system is. Like, I just watched a video last night of a black woman from Canada who was living in Ghana for years, and she said that she had to leave because of the healthcare. She said that she got into a car accident. It was a woman who was on the news in Ghana, hit the car, and I guess she was in the taxi. And the woman apologized to the cab driver and said that she was in a hurry to go take care of her mother and left. And the woman, the black Canadian woman who was in this accident, said that she hit her head really hard. She was nervous about that. Like in America, nobody does that. You're not going to hit your head really hard and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was going to see my mother and leave. And there's no exchange of information. There's no insurance that's going to help you. She said that she got really sick and had to be hospitalized, and that scared her because of how bad and incompetent and inefficient the system is. But research it yourself. I watched another video with a woman in Ghana who said that, like, again, you go to the emergency room, you have to pay for everything before they even treat you. You have to pay for the IV, you got to pay for every single little thing. So you have to pay for it now before they even give you an IV. How are you trying to do that when someone's really sick? That's a problem. And that level of corruption that exists in Africa is a problem. How can you believe anything if they do put out certain numbers and try to tell you that, oh, we have healthy air. How do you believe that? Because all people do is pay people off. That's a problem. Okay? And it's definitely a problem when it comes to health. Because people lie in the U.S. Okay? But if that level of accountability and corruption is that bad in African countries, that's a huge problem. A huge problem. Okay? So thus far, I have gone over access to food and the food care in the food system. I have gone over cannabis medicine, pharmaceuticals, okay, the type of foods they eat, how high C-sections are, which is one in where is ideal for me to live? America. I've never been to any other country where I felt like I had access to a healthier lifestyle than in the U.S. Because even when it comes to soap, I don't use commercial soap. I don't use commercial lotion. I do not use regular cleaning products. The cleaning products I use are non-toxic natural cleaning products. I use soaps that are made from like goat's milk and cocoa butter and olive oil and coconut oil and palm oil. I don't use regular soap. I have not used Dove or Irish Spring or some type of soap gel. I haven't used that shit since I've been grown. I do not put regular lotion on my skin. I only put cocoa butter, shea butter, coconut oil, ghee, stuff like that on my skin. When I'm in other countries, and that's including Europe, I can't find that easily like that. In the U.S., I can easily find these things. Now, within the U.S., my ideal place to live is New York or Chicago. Currently, Chicago, which is where I live, because I like to be in a walkable city. The problem with the U.S., people drive too damn much. Most people in America, they leave their house, they get into their car. They drive someplace else, they drive through drive-thrus, they drive to a big parking lot, want to park as close as they can, do as little walking as possible. It's like, no, I don't need a hot climate. I don't need a hot climate. I think hot is overrated, okay? I like the heat, but I don't want to be hot all the time. When I was in Dakar, when I was in Cartagena, Colombia, when I be in the Caribbean, I be in Florida, I get tired of that heat sometimes. This shit is like exhausting. New Orleans, that shit gets too hot. I appreciate seasons. I don't need to be hot all the time. And in the wintertime is not that serious. First of all, you just put on some clothes. Put on some clothes and keep it moving. People be bitching about the winter. It's not that serious. I mean, if you live way up north in Canada or something, then maybe. But it's not that bad. But also, I can always get on a plane and fly someplace warm in the winter. I do that a couple times to take a trip. I don't need to be someplace that's hot all the time. That's not a requirement for me. But I do need to have access to good food. I need to be able to move my body. Like, to me, walking is not a workout. It's just something you should do all the time. Me being from New York City, me being from Manhattan, even if you have a car, we still walk. You might park 5 blocks away from where you're going. We still walk, right? So I need to be someplace that's walkable. I don't want to have to get in the car and drive to get water. So this person said, I don't think that melanated people should be living in cold environment for long-term health and vitamin D. Okay, that's a huge myth. I've done a couple videos on I've done 3 videos on vitamin D. One is called, my latest one is called The Sun, Melanin and Hydration, right? Melanated people cannot get all their vitamin D from the sun. That's a lie, okay? Because first of all, every hot place that I've been to, that includes Florida, that includes New Orleans, that includes Colombia, Cali, Colombia, Cartagena, Colombia is one of the hottest places I've been. Hear me, because my phone's about to die. That includes Dakar. People in these hot places, they wear a lot of clothes. Every hot place that I've been to, Mexico, they have on long pants, they have on long sleeves. They're not like the way I'm dressed. People don't dress like this. And like people, as hot as Dakar was, if I walked around like this, nobody's walking around this naked. Now, I'm not going to get into it in this video because this video is not about that and it's a long scientific conversation. I suggest you check out my videos on vitamin D. But we have to get vitamin D from the food because the more melanin you have, the more that it blocks out the UV rays. And in order to get vitamin D from the sun, the UV rays have to interact with the cholesterol and ergosterol in our blood. Vitamin D is made from a cholesterol backbone when the UV rays interact with it. But melanin blocks that. So the more melanin you have, the more sunlight you need to be exposed to. And the more of your skin you need to be exposed. Because each patch of your skin makes a certain amount of vitamin D and then it maxes out, right? So then it maxes out. And and people in Dakar are really dark. I mean, they are dark. You want to talk about melanin? They're like practically the color black. So the more melanin you have, the more it blocks it out, all right? So even myself, now the darker you are, the more you have to be, in order to get vitamin D from the sun, you have to be outside, basically naked, okay, in the sun during the hottest time of the day, which is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., just in the sun, like, just, who's doing that? Nobody's doing that. People are inside their office working. People are in their cars driving around, okay? People have on too much clothes. So there's absolutely no way in the world that melanated people are going to get enough vitamin D from the sun. Why don't you check out epidemiology, okay, and look at the vitamin D status in these places? They are still very vitamin D deficient. Vitamin D deficiency is a worldwide problem, and it's not because of the sun. It's because of food. Because the foods that are high in vitamin D are the foods that are demonized. Liver. Okay? Liver is the best source of vitamin D. Cod liver oil. If you're of a certain age, I don't care where you come from in the world, you were given cod liver oil as a kid. Certain kids were given liver as a child. Grass-fed butter, high in vitamins A and D. Fish eggs, egg yolks. These are all foods that are demonized, that people think, oh, I can't eat too much butter, can't eat too many eggs, oh, I'm not eating liver. Well, vitamin D deficiency, okay? So, no. Anyhow, I suggest you look at the videos where I go more in depth about that, about vitamin D chemistry, but that's absolutely not true. Yeah, so I think I've said enough, okay? I've gone through the healthcare system. I've gone through the food system. I've gone through giving birth in the C-sections, how sick the children are, how bad the air quality is, okay? So, if you learned something from this video, please like it, please share it with those who you think it would help. Do your own research, okay? Because I don't jump on bandwagons and just say things because it sounds good. Like, oh, I went to the motherland, and the motherland is, I'm gonna go to the motherland because nah, that's going backwards health-wise. You are jacking up your health on every single level, okay? And I like to deal with the real and the facts. And in America, there's places with bad quality air, LA, Arizona, you know what I'm saying, New York, but the air quality is not as bad as it is in these developing countries, okay? You can find raw milk in the supermarket in California. I get raw milk delivered to me in New York. I get raw milk from the Amish supermarket that's run by Ukrainians in Chicago. I get raw milk when I drive through Philly because there's Amish people in Philly that got raw milk everywhere. The Russians got it. I get raw milk. I was just in Massachusetts. I went to there was 3 raw milk farms around me in Hadley, Massachusetts. Okay? I could find it. I could get grass-fed butter and eggs. I can go to the store and get juice and coconut water that doesn't have chemicals in it. I can find ice cream here that doesn't have chemicals in it. Even though the childbirth rates in this country are also poor, there's more natural births. The C-section rate is nowhere near what it is in Senegal. Okay? So on all these levels, okay, on all of these levels, do I do consultations? Yes, I do. Thank you for asking. I do consultations. I work with people no matter what's going on. I've been working with people for about 20 years, people with a wide variety of health backgrounds. I've helped many people. So if you're interested in a consultation, whether you have health issues or not, you might not have any. Maybe you don't want to have them, and you just want to live your best life and do the best that you can do. I put out videos to educate people, but I do work with people one-on-one. So if you're interested in contacting me about a consultation, you can email me directly at thebodyscientist81@gmail.com, and I'll put it below. Please share these videos with anybody you think it may help. Be sure to follow me on YouTube, The Body Scientist 81. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _body_scientist. My OnlyFans page, where I will be going more into depth about these topics. And you can ask me questions and I'll, address them. It's my onlyfans.com/The Body Scientist, okay? I'm not the best person with the technical stuff and making the videos snazzy. I'm just going to give you the facts. I do research. I've been researching for a long time. I've been a practitioner for a long time. I have an extensive background in the health sciences, and I know what I'm talking about. And all I'm going to do is put out facts for those who want them. And if anybody wants my personal advice and consultations, you can definitely contact me. Okay, so I hope you guys have a good day. Check out my other videos. Just know that when it comes to your health, what you don't know can definitely hurt you. It can and will. Okay? And if you want to help your children, if you want to help your aging parents, and the people that you love, it's in your best interest to know these things, okay? Thank you, Tiana. Yes, I do stick with facts, okay? Facts. Not the romanticism and idolizing places. Facts. and I speak about what I know, okay? What I know. And I thoroughly research shit, okay? Always got sources. So anyhow, have a great day, people. Bye.